Okay, finishing up where we left off. Now we simplify out what we have in common. We have one set of 5's and one set of x's in common. So in our numerator, we will have 7. In our denominator, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. And we also have 1x left. So our final answer is 7 over 16x. Now we go here to number 6. Now we know a negative times a positive will give us a negative. Now 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. 5 is already prime. And now we have 5 w's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can write the multiplication signs in between them. Okay, now 25 breaks down to 5 times 5. And then 6 breaks down to 2 times 3. And we have 3 w's here. Now we simplify out what we have in common. We bring down our negative sign. We have one set of 5's in common, one set of 2's in common, and we have 3 sets of w's in common. So our numerator would be 2w squared, and our denominator would be 15. So our final answer is a negative 2w squared over 15. Now note, we can simplify by finding the prime factorization and using the follow shortcut procedure, which we've been doing. So let's go here. Now, they want us to do method 1 and method 2. I would do both methods here. So first of all, we will multiply. 5 times 7 gave us 35, and 2 times 20 gave us 40. Now method number 2, we would do 5 times 7, lead to prime factorizations, and our denominator 2 is prime, and we know the prime factorization of 20 is 2 2's and a 5. Now, our next step here for method 1 is we need to do the prime factorization. We have 5 times 7, and our denominator we have 3 2's and a 5, because we know the prime factorization of 40 is this here. We have one set of 5's that we can simplify out, and we'll be left with 7 over 8. Same thing here. One set of 5's simplify out, and we'll be left with 7 over 8. So whichever method you choose, it works. Now, let's scroll down here. Now, from here on out, I'm just going to do the one method. I'm going to do the prime factorization. We don't have to do the methods each and every time. So I'm going to cross out method 1, method 2, and just do one method. 4 breaks down to 2 times 2, and 33 is 3 times 11. All over, we have 11 times 16 breaks down to 4 2's. Now our 11 simplify out, and we have 2 sets of 2's that simplify out, and that would give us 3/4. Now we have section B. It says multiplying fraction in mixed numbers or whole numbers. Okay, now the first thing you have to do is this here. In order to multiply a mixed number or a whole number, you must change that mixed number to an improper fraction, which we covered back in section, I believe it was either 3.1 or 3.2. So the first thing we need to do is this here. Our denominator would stay 3. Oh, this just popped back in the picture here. Okay, so let me go off to the side here. Well, down here, we have 3 1/3. We first would change this mixed number to an improper fraction, which is 10 over 3, and we had times 7 over 8. Now, we would take 10 and rewrite it as 2 times 5 times 7. Okay, now, we'll take the prime factorization of 10, which is 2 times 5, and 7 is already prime. Then we would carry over our 3, which is already prime, and we would take 8 prime factorization, which this 4 should be 2 times 2. So let me write that here. So now what happens is this here. These 2's will simplify out. This is the only thing that our numerator and denominator have in common. So 5 times 7 is 35. And we have 3 times 1, which is 3, times 2 times 2, which is 12. Now, Since our problem started out as a mixed number, and if we can make our final answer a mixed number, we should. So this is how we would do it. We would take 12 into 35. 12 goes into 35 twice. 35 minus 24 is 11. So we have a remainder of 11. So our final answer would go like this. The number that's in front of your remainder will be your whole number. Your denominator will stay the same. Your numerator is your remainder. So this is how we get 2 and 11/12. Now we scroll down here, and we do the same thing for a whole number, except for we would just put a 1 under the whole number and follow the same procedure. Okay, let's take a look here at number 1. First of all, we have a positive times a negative, so we know our final answer is going to be negative. Now we could put a 1 under this 18. So 2 is prime, and 18 we know breaks down to 2 times 3 times 3. Now in our denominator, 3 is prime, and you know 3 times 1 is 3, so we'll just write down the 3 here. Now we have one set of 3's that simplify out, and our numerator would be 12 over 1. So negative 12 over 1 is just negative 12, because we do not leave our final answer with 1 as its denominator. Now we go here to number 2. Now we need to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. Now first of all, we know our denominator will stay 2. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So this 2½ becomes 5 halves times 8 over 15. Now, the numerator, 5 is prime, and 8 breaks down to 2 times 2 times 2. Your denominator here, 2 is prime, and 15 breaks down to 3 times 5. These 2 simplify out, and these set of 5 simplify out. So you would be left with 4/3. Now we know that since we started off with a mixed number, we could change this 4/3 into a mixed number. So I'm going to go off to the side here and take 3 and a 4. 3 goes into 4 once, and you have a remainder of 1. So your final answer here will be 1. Your denominator will stay 3, and your numerator would be the remainder, which is 1. So your final answer here is 1 1/3. Now, I'm going to do number 4 before I do number 3. 0 times any number is just 0. So we don't need to change that mixed number. Now here, this is a negative times a negative, which we know is positive. So we need to change these mixed numbers to improper fractions. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Now we do these prime factorizations. Prime factorization of 16 is 4 2's. And then we have 11, which is already prime. Our denominator, 5 is prime, and 4 breaks down to 2 2's. So we had 2 sets of 2's that simplify out, and we will have 44 over 5. That's a positive 44 over 5. So now we would take 5 into 44. Now I'm going to go off to the side here and do that. 5 goes into 44 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. And we have a remainder of 4. So our final answer here is 8. Our denominator would still be 5. And our numerator would be 4. And that would be our final answer. Now, it says section D, solving problems by multiplying fractions. Now, what we're going to do here, we're going to do a couple real world problems here. It says find 3/5 of 40. The word of typically indicates multiplication. So we'll take 3/5 times 40. Now we're going to put 40 over 1, and then we will multiply. Now 3 is prime, and 40 breaks down to 3 2's and a 5. And then 5 we know is already prime. These 5 simplify out, And that will leave 24 over 1, which is 24. Okay, now number 2. A salesman gets paid a commission of 2/15 of the total amount of his sales. Last week he sold $4,800 worth of merchandise. What was his commission? Okay, first of all, we need to find the prime factorization of 4,800. So let's do that first. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a little differently. Since this is such a large number, I'm going to do 48 times 100. Now, 48 breaks down to, we could do 2 times 24. We know 2 is prime, 24 is not. We could do 2 times 12. 2 is prime, 12 is not. 12 breaks down to 2 times 6. 2 is prime, 6 is not. And 6 breaks down to 2 times 3. Now we need to do 100. Now 100, we could do 2 times 50. And then 50 breaks down to 2 times 25. And we know 25 breaks down to 5 times 5. Now, we're going to save this for just a second. So we want to set this problem up. It's 2/15 of his total sales. The total sales was $4,800 to get his commission. So we'll put that over 1. Now, when we write this out, first of all, 2 is prime. Now for 4,800, let's look at all these 2's we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2's. So in addition to this first 2, we have 6 more 2's we have to add. Okay, and then also, what else we have here? We have 1 3 and 2 5's. Now our denominator, we have 15 times 1, which is 15, and the prime factorization of 15 is 3 and 5. So we got 1 set of 3's and 1 set of 5's. Now when we multiply this out, we have, what's that, 7 2's. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64, times 2 is 128. And 128 times 5, it looks like it's 640. For some reason, this 4 just keeps giving me a line on it. So it's 640 over 1. So it'll be $640 would be his commission. Okay, now we scroll down here. It says a recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of flour. How much flour should be used if only 1/2 of the recipe is made? So it's 1/3 of a cup of flour, and you're only making half of it. So it's half of this 1/3. So it's 1/3 times 1/2, which is just 1/6. Nothing will simplify out. Now we look here at number 4. Now number 4 says find the area of a sheet of wood that is 7/6 yards wide and 4/3 yards long. This is an area problem. Remember, the area of wood, a sheet of wood looks like a rectangle. So we have to do the area of a rectangle. Now the area of a rectangle is area is equal to length times width. So we substitute in our length, which is 4/3. So we have 4/3 times our width, which is 7/6. Now we multiply like we would do any other fraction. We have 2 times 2 times 7, and we will have 3 times, the prime factorization of 6 is 2 times 3. Now we have 1 set of 2's that simplify out, and we will be left with 14 over 9. And it's 14 over 9 square yards. Now since we didn't start with a mixed number, and we were not asked to write this as a mixed number, this will be our final answer, 14 over 9 square yards. Now if you want to write this as a mixed number, you could go off to the side and take 9 into 14, which goes once. You have a remainder of 5. So you could write this answer as 1/5 yards squared. And that's it. Either one is acceptable.